Okay, so we continue with Mesilas Yesharim, chapter 7, the elements of Zrizus. So the big takeaway for me, again, I think, was I was thinking about it for a while, the big takeaway from last time was this idea that Zrizus is, in its very nature, a spiritual quality, right? It's not just Zahirus. Zahirus in itself is nothing, meaning you have to be Zohir, you have to be careful so that not to do Averis.
It's a skill.
Right? What?
It's a skill.
Right. It's a skill, but the goal of Zahirus is it's a tool. It's not the end of itself, right? It's a tool to get to the end, which is not doing Averis. Right? Zrizus, what comes out from Ramchal is Zrizus in itself is a spiritual quality, right? It is, right? That's what he said. So even it's a never-ending kind of growth, right? In other words, if you were to ask Ramchal, maybe like, do you think it's a good idea for me to, to dunk myself into the mikvah, right? He was against it, right, in the introduction. Not even in the mikvah, like an icy mikvah, right? Mm-hmm. He was very much against it in the introduction because he was saying, that's silliness. That's silliness. But now, this is a kind of like a little bit of a counter argument. Meaning, it's not that he's totally against breaking your physical nature. I don't think he is. But I think he's just saying is that it should be avoida focused. Meaning, there's enough within your avoida to break your physical nature. But clearly, he seems to be saying that Zrizus, which is gvura, right, to overpowering your physical heaviness, in itself is a spiritual act, right? Mm-hmm. Even though, again, it's not, there's no, don't say, okay, so to break my laziness, let me run every morning a mile. Ramchal will probably tell you, there's nowhere to say in the Torah that you have to run a mile. But you say, but I'm going to do it in order to break my laziness, to get myself energy. Yeah, Ramchal may or may not agree, but in it of itself, when Zrizus is more than just a tool to get to an end, it is in itself an end of some sort. This is what I'm okay, right? That was the big takeaway from last time. Okay, so now let's continue, right? Now you should see that when an Odom, a person whose nefesh burns, right, tilahit, is inflamed in the service of Hashem, certainly he will not be lazy, right, in doing of his commandments. Right, again, this is echoing back to the introduction, right? That we're talking about a person who internalized within himself the chayvasai be'olam, right? His responsibility in the world. He internalized this, and so once he internalized this, and now he's burning with a passion to do avodas Hashem, to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So clearly that person is not going to be lazy about it, because passion and laziness are two opposites, right? Kilo yanuach. He will not rest, and he will not be silent until he completes the thing to perfection. However, his boinen oid, you should contemplate further. Okay, this is Ramchal's famous idea, and again, it used to be. Hopefully, we'll try to analyze this a little deeper than I remember seeing it the first time around. Anyways, this is Ramchal's famous idea. What's the famous idea? Just like Zrizus, alacrity, is an outgrowth, is a teledus of islautus apnimi, of inner passion, right? Mm-hmm. If I have inner passion for something, I'm going to be zoris, I'm going to be alacrities, whatever, right? I'm going to be zoris about this thing. But it also works in the reverse, says the Ramchal. Kain, so too min hazrizus yivoleit ha'islatus. From alacrity will produce passion, right? So just like passion produces alacrity, so too it works in reverse. The forced alacrity unnatural alacrity will result in a spark of passion.
Nasa v'nishma?
What?
Nasa
I
v'nishma?
don't want to put Nasa v'nishma into this. Nasa v'nishma is I think is a different parsha.
Okay.
But right? But okay, let's see a little more. This is more like appetit приходит во время еды. You know, you start eating, and all of a sudden you get into it. V'hainu, so that is ki mi shemargish atzmoi, somebody who feels himself b'maseh mitzvah. If he senses himself when he does the act of a mitzvah, it's a very strangely phrased sentence, as if he is speeding up his external action, movement. Right? This margish atzma, I don't really understand how that works over here. This means when someone energizes himself. Okay. Maybe. So margish over here, the word regish means feeling, but also means with energy, right? So kimisha margish atzma is somebody who energizes himself in the action of a mitzvah. Again, it's a double language. I just don't know. And then, just as he quickens his outer physical movement, I see. Okay. Again, very strangely phrased. Ken hine hu goyrem shetivar bo tnuoso hapnimis. So too, again, it's double so too. Again, very unusual for Ramchal in Mesilas Yesharim at least. So just like his outer movement is sped up, so that causes the fire within him, the inner fire within him, will also burn. Okay, so as he speeds up his outer self, physical self, so too his inner self will be sped up, will be inflamed. Okay. All right. Let's just see more, just so we get more of his words. The reverse is also true. If he acts with heaviness, with regards to his movement of his limbs, so too the movement of his spirit will set and will become extinguished. Okay? And this is a thing that experience can testify to. Okay? So let's talk simple. Simple is logically we understand, right? We understand that sometimes you're not in the mood. You get to start doing it and you get in the mood. Very logical thing. Again, like he says, this is something that experience can testify. Sure, we understand that. Again, why does he need to tell me that? What is Ramchal saying when he tells me that this is something that experience attests to, right? Meaning, why doesn't he say in the beginning, let me tell you something that experience attests to? Like, why does it, meaning, till now, he was speaking about without experience, right? He was speaking about logically, right? So if he was speaking about logically, what is the logic exactly? Meaning, let's say I never experienced this idea that what we call in the Hebrew chitzonius me'oires apnimius, that the externals wake up the internals, right? This is where the lashon, right? He doesn't use this lashon, but this is the idea. Chitzonius me'oires apnimius. The externals inflame or ignite the internals, right? So let's say I did not know that, and I never experienced it in myself, right? Where would there be some kind of a logic that I would follow to figure out that this must be so? Meaning, is it something that if I understand the way Hashem created the world and the nisayon that Hashem put for mankind, then I understand that this must be so? Or it just happens to be so therefore I say, hey, this is a good advice for you. Or is it part of the design of Avodas Hashem and the nisayon that comes from Avodas Hashem?
It could be part of the design, but
so to me, it's for sure part of the design. Right. It's such an essential thing that it's not just, hey, look, I figured out a loophole that if you focus on your externals, you can get your internals involved. It's not a loophole. Clearly, it's the design. And probably, again, I'm just thinking now, probably, well, how does Ramchal know that it's a design? Because a person has more control, and he's going to speak this out in the next paragraph to some degree. A person has full control over his externals. A person has less control over his internals. Right? So therefore, it's understandable that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives me a challenge in a way that I could overcome it. So how do I overcome this challenge? Through what I can control. Focus on what I can control, and then slowly get, again, that's my, perhaps, so that's one idea. Perhaps there's more to it in terms of understanding the heaviness of the state of nature, right? The status quo, the immobility. I don't know. So I think there's more here to it than this. Okay. All right. The next question I'm going to have, maybe I'll say it now, is that why is this over here? Meaning, this next chapter is titled, the way to acquire Zrizus. So the way to acquire Zrizus is going to talk. So this belongs in the next chapter. It's not in the next chapter, meaning he doesn't talk about this idea in the next chapter at all. So why is it over here? Meaning this is elements of Zrizus. This is not an element of Zrizus. This is a way to acquire Zrizus. I'm not sure why it's here, but again, let's keep going. Let's see if we can come up with some ideas.
I'm not sure. Is this really the method of acquiring Zrizus? I think acting was jumping on the mitzvah is the expression, is the actual not a side effect. That this is the symptom of Zrizus.
Oh, could be right. Meaning Zrizus, at the end of the day, Zrizus doesn't care whether your internals or externals are being zoris, as long as you're producing the same result.
As long as you're exercising Zrizus externally, then the internals are going to follow. But it's possible to start engaging and exercising the idea of Zrizus first externally.
Okay.
Simply by contemplating unstraining.
Right. Okay. I guess so. So this is not a way to acquire it. This is it. It's doing it.
It's part of one of the expressions of Zrizus.
Okay. Fine. I accept this. All right. Let's continue. Let's continue a little more. However, you already know from where, I don't know what he's. Okay, that the most desired thing when it comes to serving Hashem is Baruch Shmoy, who chefetz halev, the desire of the heart, u'tshukas haneshama, and the yearning of the soul. Right? When it comes to avodas Hashem, it's not the externals that we care about; it's really the internals that we care about. Right? We want your whole being, right? Tshuka, yearning. This is what David the Melech praises of his fortunate portion. Like an ayol, like a deer who yearns by the brook of water. Right? So ayol tarag alefikim, like a deer that yearns by the brook of water. So too my soul yearns for to you, my God. My God, my soul thirsts for God. Right? That's one pasuk. Another pasuk. Nichsefa gam kolsa nafshi lechatzer Hashem. Right? Again, it's nichsefa. It's hard to translate, but it's my thirst, my yearn to the point of kolsa, like to the point of being worn out. Right, to be lechatzer Hashem, to be in the courtyard of Hashem, or another one, tzomalecha nafshi, my soul thirsts for you, komalecha bsori, my flesh pines for you. Right, these are all expressions of tshuka, of yearning, of deep desire. Right. So passion, right? This is passion, correct? However, with regards to a person for whom this chemda, this desire, is not burning all the way. So Eitza Toiva, good advice. Who lo she is daris beretzoni. He first should be mezares himself, right? He should consciously act with alacrity, right? Kadeshi moshech mizeh, so that as a result of this, shetivoli bo achemda beteva. Then as a result of this, he will get this desire, right? The inner desire will come as a result of the outer experience. Again, the external movement, will wake up, will ignite the internal. Okay, again, this is what he speaks out here. And certainly, and certainly he has more control of what's outside of him than what's inside of him. So therefore, if he uses what is within his control, he will then acquire something that's not exactly within his control. Right? Even though, saying, the way to acquire the thing that's not within his control is through the thing that is within his control. Why? Because it will create within him an inner happiness, right? Inner happiness, and the desire, and the yearning, will come to him through I don't know. I don't know how to translate this. From the fact that he is able to so this is like 3 steps. It's a step. So the outer movement, right? The outer Zrizus will create fire within him, and the fire within him will create the yearning within him. It's not they're not one and the same, according to, because that's what he's saying. He's saying, I thought initially they are the same. Passion, desire, to me that's all the same. He's saying no. He's saying the simcha hapnimis, the inner happiness, and the chayfetz and the chemda, these 3 things, right, of which represent yearning, will be a product of what? Not of the outer movements. No, there will be a product of the fact that he was mislahid, he was ignited through his outer movement. So outer movement, ignition, passion. Outer movement, ignition, passion. That's what
makes sense.
That's what it seems to me. I'm not sure if it makes sense to me, but that's what I'm reading here. And this is what the prophet says. We will know nirdafa l'das Hashem. Then we will pursue, right? We'll be roidev to the knowledge of Hashem, right? So the first is neida, right? There's knowledge. Then there's pursuit, and there's more knowledge. Because of Achar Hashem Yeilechu K'arya Yishad. After Hashem, you go like a lion will roar. Okay, this last is also confusing. But anyway, so let's just understand what just happened here. So I don't know how to say this another way. Meaning, let's say, right, you want to force your kid. Let's talk about kid. You want to force your kid to do something. Let's say you want to force your kid to play the piano. Right? So you're telling him, listen, I'm going to force him now. Right? So that's chitzonis. I'm going to force him now. And then eventually, what's going to happen eventually?
He's going to love it.
He's going to, right. So that's not, I don't think that's what he's talking about.
No, I mean, he's not.
Because I don't think that's what he's talking about. I think he's talking about, again, we're talking about a person who already, again, this is Nizbarach Chayvasa Be'elam, that's why I started with this, right? That he already understands his chayva in the world. He already understands that this is the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, our nature is such that we are lazy to do things. we're not interested, we're not motivated. Our status quo is low energy, right? So now I just have to, I have really something on this end that says, this is the right thing to do. I really want to do this. There's a problem here, impediment here, that I have heaviness. So once I overcome this initial heaviness, right? Once I overcome this initial heaviness with fake Zrizus, let's call it, right? External Zrizus, then I can reconnect with the thing that's really there, the simcha, or whatever the ignition is, right? Right? On the other hand, if a kid has no interest in the piano, and I'm just forcing him to do it, the only thing that I'm probably going to accomplish is the kid hating the piano and me in one package deal, right? Right? So this is not the same thing. On the other hand, if I see that the kid really does have an interest in it, just he's becoming lazy, that I could help him to overcome it by.
But maybe the example of piano is not I'm thinking this might not work with every single thing in the world. Like, for example, I have no passion for split pea soup. I can force myself to start eating split pea soup every day. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be becoming more and more passionate about a split pea soup. I think this formula is maybe there's other things, but the primary focus is avodas Hashem, right? If the Yid is naturally inclined.
Okay, I think it's a very dangerous path to take. For yourself, maybe, but even for yourself, it's not. It's a very dangerous path to take, because right again. Remember, he says.
I'm not gonna
remember what he's saying, especially what you said. Actually, what you said, right? This external Zrizus is not a method for acquiring Zrizus. It is an expression of Zrizus, right? It's meaning once I have it, I have the avodas Hashem in me. I'm just looking for a way to make it, right? To make it passionate, to make it right.
Right.
So the external way is a way to express it, but it's not a way to acquire a passion for something. It's not a way to acquire a passion for something.
I'm thinking of a person who's never gone to shul, and he starts. He kind of he feels logically that this would be the appropriate thing to do. He starts getting into it. The more he goes, the more he learns, the more he realizes what's going on, and eventually,
I think it's a little different.
This doesn't necessarily mean he needs to put on the baggage on day two.
Right. No, but I think it's a little different.
There's a measure. The expression of Zrizus, the degree of the external expression can really vary.
I think you're talking about two different things. One is applying towards yourself, one is applying towards somebody else.
No, he's saying even towards somebody else. Let's say you want to push somebody to come to shul, but because you're assuming that if they come to shul, they will actually experience it and they will enjoy it. I mean, that's possible, like a one-time thing. That's possible. It's not possible if you're forcing them for 100th time to come to shul, and they haven't enjoyed it yet. But you're gonna say no, keep going because you will enjoy it. That's not possible.
Maybe I'm thinking he's talking about a personal application of a personal Zrizus, not necessarily forcing somebody else to do something. This is talking about me working with me.
100%, definitely. But I think some of this, I know, maybe it seems to me that
some
of these ideas can be applied more universally.
Could be, but I assume this is he's talking about a person working on himself.
On himself, for sure. He's definitely talking about a person working on himself.
Right. So when you work with yourself, you have a better insight into how far you should be. Should you push yourself? Like you should be energetic about going to shul, not necessarily.
You should be. Again, should is a very dangerous word in my worldview right now. Okay. Because a lot of things that should happen and don't happen. Okay.
Right, but if you don't push yourself, you're never going to go to shul. You're just going to keep on theorizing, and the fire is never going to ignite. I'm not talking about you got to go and put on the shtreimel and be that on the day too. All the power to the shtreimel. There's time for that. But the person, don't overdo it. But if you don't do it. The plane is never gonna take off. The fire isn't gonna just sit inside.
Again, I hear. I think ultimately, we're talking about where that person is Nizbarach Evosa Ba'olama. Okay? If there's no Nizbarach Evosa Ba'olama, if a person doesn't understand what's right, what's wrong, he's just dragging himself because I feel like it's something that should be done, then I think that it has a very strong possibility to backfire and end up just creating a more negative experience as opposed to a positive experience, even for himself. Right? I just used the example that I used with the kids because it's easier to appreciate when it's somebody else and when it's a kid, when you have control over him, whatever, you know what I mean? They just externalize it from ourselves. But I think even from ourselves, we often, or at least I've seen people force themselves to do things that they just produced a much more negative experience for themselves. So
you have to be careful with it.
So this idea of externals leading to internals, I mean, obviously it's a valid idea. He doesn't bring it everywhere, right? He brings it specifically in Zrizus, and like you said, it's not a way to acquire Zrizus. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's not a way to acquire Zrizus. It is an expression of Zrizus, right? It's just an expression of Zrizus that is, you need to warm up your car. So this is a way to. That's not a warm up your car. It's like, I don't know how to say this. What would be a good example to say it? It's whether your car goes 100 miles an hour because it has a full tank of gas, or whether it goes 100 miles an hour because right now you're going downhill. It doesn't matter, because right now you're going 100 miles an hour, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what he's saying. He's saying that there are two ways to get to your Zrizus, to express Zrizus, either through your full tank of gas or either by going downhill. So this is going downhill, right?
Okay.
Anyways, okay. So let's continue. So that's our Zrizus. Let's move on to how do we acquire Zrizus. So Perek Ches. The intermediaries with which you can acquire Zrizus, they are the same. They are the same that are used to acquire Zehirus. And their levels are identical to these levels. Like I wrote above. Okay, what is he talking about? So, do you anybody wants to say what he's talking about? What brings you to Zehirus? So I remember Torah bringing Zrizus to Zehirus. Right? I remember contemplating about punishments, right? And then he talked about different people are motivated by different things, right? Perfection versus jealousy versus something else. Honor. Or is that the same thing as jealousy? No, and then reward. Right? How is this applicable to Zrizus? Anybody wants to venture an idea? How is this comparable to Zrizus? Because meaning you're going to get more Olam Haba. Zrizus will bring you more Olam Haba, so different people will be motivated by different Olam Haba. Yes, correct?
Yeah.
No, not correct.
No.
So contemplation, Torah in general, right? Torah in general, and contemplation in specific areas, and motivation. Those three. So Zrizus will be the same thing. I mean, if I contemplate more, if I internalize avodas Hashem more, the more inner passion I'm going to have. Okay, so let's continue. Let's see what he says. Because the concept of Zrizus and Zrizus are close to one another. And there's not real difference between them, is that one is when it comes to negative commandments, and the other one is positive commandments. When a person internalizes within himself the greatness of the mitzvahs, and how much he's obligated to them, by that in them. So it's the same thing. He's saying that either a person will be motivated by schar or by kavod, or by the end of the day, something that will motivate him to do the avodas Hashem. Whether you're motivated because you want to avoid averos so that you don't fall behind, or whether you want to pursue mitzvahs so you can bring yourself closer, right? So, but the idea is the same. You need. These are all outgrowths of avodas Hashem. And whatever motivates avodas Hashem will motivate you in both directions: in the negative to avoid the negative, and in the positive to do more positive. Right?
Okay.
So the amnam, however, so again, just like there is more specific contemplation when it comes to Zehirus, right? Specific contemplations, more, right? So too, there is more specific contemplations that will give you an ignition, Hisoirus, right? What will give you Hisoirus to Zrizus? Who hahistaklus b'roiva toiva shakadosh baruch hu oisa emadam, with all the many great things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does with the person, b'chol eis, in every moment of b'chol shon, every hour, v'aniflois hagdoiles, and the great wonders that he does with him from the moment he's born ad hayoma acharon, until the last day of his death. Okay, so what will inspire us to do avodas Hashem with greater passion is appreciation of how much Hashem does for us, right? In other words, because that will inspire us to have a more hakaras hatov, right? And if we have more hakaras hatov, we'll be more. It's a reciprocal thing. Right? When you fly gedolos, great wonders that Hashem does with us from the moment we're born. Because the more a person contemplates, and understands these things, then he will recognize in himself the indebtedness, right? The obligation, the indebtedness that he has, that God to the God that benefits him so much, right? So I get so much toiv, so much benefit. How can I not repay him with this avodas Hashem? These will be the intermediates, to not to be lazy, right? Somebody who, if you owe gratitude to somebody, if you're really indebted to somebody, you jump at the opportunity to repay that gratitude, right? So that's the idea. Since he cannot, there's nothing you could do to Hashem to pay him back for what he has done to you. So at least he will, be thankful to his name, and fulfill what his commandments. Now here's the very important point, right? This is a hard to internalize, right? I mean, there are some people who are going through tough matzahs, right? It's very nice to say, contemplate on all the good that Kodesh Baruch Hu is doing for you. What if I don't? It's not there are tough times. Everybody has their pekel, as they say, right? Mm-hmm. So there are tough times. But he says like this. It says, there is not a person in whatever state, in any condition, any situation that he finds himself in, poor or rich, in bori, in chayla, healthy or sick. And you switch, right? Poor, rich, healthy, sick. Which is the order. Okay, that he doesn't see many wonders and much good in his situation, in his situation. So again, it switches the order here too. And over there was Toivis first, and then Niflois. Over here it's Niflois first, and then Toivis. I don't know if this means anything. Maybe it's just language, richness of language. I don't know. Probably, actually, it's not just the richness of language. Meaning, when the person is in a tough matzav, he may not be able to see the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but he may be able to see the wonders of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning, he may be able to see like things are happening in a very unusual ways, and so he first gets to appreciate the niflois. Then maybe will be able to appreciate the toivis as well, right? And the person in a good situation is the other way around. It's easier for him to appreciate the toivis, and then once he appreciates the toivis, then he can appreciate the niflois, the wonders, right? So it's very precise, I think, the way he says it. Anyways, it continues. Obviously, if somebody who's rich or somebody who's healthy, then he's already obligated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he was blessed with rich and with wealth and health. However, a poor person, that even in his poverty, HaKadosh Baruch Hu finds for him parnasa in wondrous ways. Meaning, a poor person may not understand why he's poor. He maybe have tinus on the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't understand how come I'm poor and the other guy is rich. I don't understand. I want to be comfortable, right? But on the other hand, he will see that even his poverty is precise, so to speak. Like, he will see that his poverty is not just happenstance. He will see that at the last moment, $100 comes in that he gets to pay whatever the bill that came up, right? He may not understand why this is so. He might not appreciate it, but he will see that there is a hand of God in his circumstance, right? Similarly, somebody who is ill, who is sick, HaKadosh Baruch Hu supports him in the heaviness of his sickness. And again, also at least for whatever, sometime, for this time, at this moment, I guess, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not let him descend to the grave. So every day that a person, I guess, is, again, it's easier for us, Baruch Hashem, to think about this, but even the person, terminally ill, I guess every day that a person, makes it to another day, you have to be makir toiv. Okay, and everything that's similar to this. There's not a person that will not recognize within himself some indebtedness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to his Creator. When a person contemplates on these goods, shehu mekabel mena, that he receives from Hashem, he will be ignited to be quick, right, to have Zrizus to his service. When he understands that all of his goodness really comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And whatever he needs, everything is from Hashem. Whatever he requires, everything is from Hashem. And not from any other source. Then he will not be lazy to do Hashem's service. And he will not I'm not sure if I read this right. That is the sentence. I don't understand how to read the sentence. I'm sorry. V'lo yechser lo, and he will not lack mashehu mukhrach elov, what is necessary for him, and he will not lack what is necessary for him. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, the sentence saying that once that's how they're reading it. When a person understands that everything that he has is from Hashem, even what is absolutely necessary for him, then he will do he will not be lazy in Hashem's service, so that he will not lack the thing that is necessary for him. I don't know, it doesn't read to me very well. Can I see your translation, please? Sorry. Whatever he needs and whatever is essential is from Hashem and from no other, and therefore he surely will not be able to afford being indolent in the service of the Hashem, so as not to find himself deprived of what is vital to him. Yeah, that's how they're translating it. I don't understand this line. Then I'm not sure what he's adding to it.
It sounds like Yov. Yov was complaining that his punishment may not be from Hashem because so even Hashem does not take away everything. So it's absolutely necessary still with you.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you realize that minimum was not breached, you still understand that it comes from Hashem. I'm not sure, but.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. It's just something like
from
that area.
That sounds like a good track.
Yes, something I have to look into exactly what he's saying, but there was something along those lines.
Okay, let's finish up. Yeah, I don't know what time it is, but we have one more. And now you see shekalalti. What time is it? I can't see. What time is it?
11:20.
Okay. So you see shekalalti poy that I included here, b'dvorei shloishes hamadregos, the three levels asher chilaktim b'zehirus that I already divided for you in zehirus. Right? V'hinei kvar inyon hamecha, because like I said, they're all same idea. Which three levels? Where did he see three levels? Did you see any three levels? What did I miss? Did you see three levels?
Let's talk about three things inspiring. Maybe like each one different.
Where do you see three things inspiring?
In the beginning, like what inspires person to.
In the beginning of Zrizus and the beginning of Zehirus.
But you're saying it's the same. It's what's for both of them.
Right, but where is it over here? Over here, I see one thing. There's not one thing here that contemplating all the good that Kosh Baruch Hu does for you will inspire you to have Zrizus. That's one thing. Where do you see three things? Right? I included here in my words three levels asher chilaktim b'zehirus that I divided in zehirus, meaning this thing that the perfect shleimei adas. Right? He says v'adover lomed minyana, you will learn one from the other. Shleimei adas tia haora mitzad hachoiva. Right? The perfectionists. Right? We call them the perfectionists. They will be inspired from the very obligation, and from the level of their actions and their importance. The ones who are less than that will be inspired by the kavod of olam haba, right? But he didn't speak about that over here. The people not gonna, they shouldn't be embarrassed from missing some of the gmul, the reward, right? And to everybody else, they will be inspired by what they need in this world.
Yeah,
That's not what he said at all.
But prerequisite is this. As long as you see like
I'm blown away. That's not what he said in Zrizus. First of all, he didn't say anything over here. Second of all, he just invented new 3 levels. Not new 3 levels. The levels are the same, but in right. So again, there are 3 levels, right? We have the perfectionists, the competitionists that we call them, and everybody else, right? The perfectionists are going to be inspired by perfection. The competitionists are going to be inspired that olam haba, I'm going to have a bigger olam haba than you. So just like in this world, I can't be right, and everybody else, schar v'oinish. They're going to be inspired by reward. Where? Which reward?
But that's what it is.
Which reward? Olam hazeh or olam haba?
Whatever works for them.
Whatever works for them. Okay, could be. But look over here.
Yeah, but
over here he says that perfectionists are l'shem shemayim.
Yeah.
Competitionists are for really olam haba, reward in olam haba,
Okay.
and everybody else olam hazeh. That to me is. I didn't. First of all, he didn't say that at all in Zrizus. He says it just didn't say it in Zrizus. Unless I miss again, I have to go back and read it now over again. But he didn't say it like that in Zrizus. Right? And if you ask me, like you said, that for everybody else, whatever you want, which maybe, but I would have said no. I would have said no. If you want to inspire everybody else with olam haba, I guess I'm okay with it. If you want to say, no. Okay, start coming to Shachar, as Hashem will bench you with good parnasa. Is that a good thing to say to a...
No.
What? No, you're against it? Well, that's what you said. You said whatever you want.
No, that's kind of sad, but will they buy it? If they buy it,
Yeah.
fine, but you shouldn't sell it because if it's not going to work out, they're going to call you responsible. It's not going to backfire. You can just promise something else. Just any means to bring somebody in.
Right. Okay, but that's what it is. But
if person on his own thinks that's what's going to happen, that is a good thing.
Okay, but still, I'm very confused about. Okay, so I'm gonna work on this. That's my project. Okay, so I have to work on this Zrizus comparison. But where does he say 3 levels over here? Shikolalti poi bidvora, that I included in my words in this chapter the same 3 levels. Where? Where are these 3 levels? See above note 2.
Is the method as the same as that one? Yeah, right in the beginning. Like the various levels, methods of heroes, the same as various levels of.
Right,
heroes.
I understand that. I just don't see the 3 levels here. He says he
You don't
spoke
have to.
it out. No,
You
he's
don't
not.
The same as the other
No,
one.
no,
so-
that's not what he says. He says, you see that I included in my words here. In my words here. Where are the words here? So I understand like this. So
Okay,
I understand.
Yeah, I got the question.
I understand that over here it says this line, V'kasheri samas, right? So if you look at page 141, it says, V'kasheri samas es lo'odam goydel erech ha-mitzvahs, when a person internalizes the huge level, I guess, not level, the value of the mitzvahs, and the great obligation, so that's the first level. To a regular person, he doesn't need that next part. Contemplate upon the goodness that Hashem does for you. That's for people who need it. A perfectionist doesn't need it. A perfectionist sees the value of the mitzvahs and he jumps to do it. Right? He has internal passion without any additional, ignition necessary. Then you have this person who contemplates the tovos and the flows. And where's the third person?
Yeah, that's a question. Where was that?
Oh, so
What
that
kind
was
of-
the,
it-
that was
it-
the
it did
that, oh, I
transpiration.
understand now.
And
That
what
was the
you're
last
born about.
part. That was the last part that I didn't understand. Now I understand. That last knech that he added, that last element that he said, and once you realize this, you'll realize that Hashem can take away even those things that you need. Meaning, for a regular person, once he understands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of everything. So I was looking at as a growth. He's looking at more as like is a downgrade. Meaning, so the first person, okay, now I understand. So the first person, to him, he understands Avodas Hashem. That's this, right? He doesn't need anything more. The next person contemplates all the goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for him.
Mm-hmm.
The third person, right? He understands that everything, whatever he has, comes from Hashem, and Hashem can take it away. So don't get God angry, so to speak. I mean, it's a very low level of avodas Hashem, but it's those people that basically that the only thing that motivates them is like, what if? What if I'm going to lose my Olam Hazeh, whatever Olam Hazeh that I have? And that's what he's saying. So maybe it's not the same in terms of the parallel. It's not exactly the same because over here it's specifically motivated by Olam Hazeh, right? Everything in Zrizus is motivated by Olam Hazeh. Everything in Zehirus is motivated by Olam Haba. Okay? The perfection of Olam Haba, the kavod of Olam Haba, the reward of Olam Haba. Everything in Zrizus is Olam Hazeh, right? Well, not except the first level, where just the value of mitzvahs. The value of mitzvahs, and that's it. There's nothing to discuss. And then Olam Hazeh, the goodness of Olam Hazeh, the punishment of Olam Hazeh. Right? So because to break, I guess I'm assuming now, because to break your physical nature, your Olam Haba is not going to be such a great motivator. To break, right? To stay away from a virus, maybe, right? But to actually spur you into action and to break the heaviness of your physical nature, you need something stronger, all right? Something in your face, something that will overpower, right? You need that extra energy that will overpower your laziness. For that, you need something that will boost, right? And that's has to be in your face, right? So again, so perfectionists, to them, the value of mitzvahs is in their face, right? They appreciate it so much that it's real, right? To a middle level person, right? Once he appreciates all the goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for them, that also becomes real. To a regular person, it's the fear of losing his Olam Hazeh, because it's attached to his Olam Hazeh, so that will get him going, right? So I think that's a fair system. Okay, fine. Shkoyach.